Story 1. In a quiet foreign town where grocery options were limited, our Italian family faced the challenge of high bills due to our family of 5. My husband worked long hours at a tech company while I, at 40 years old, stayed at home taking care of our 3 children aged 10, 7 and 3. Twice a week, I embarked on grocery runs, usually visiting the nearby King Colon. However, on a particular day, I found myself running behind schedule. It was already past 9 o'clock, nearing the store's closing time of 10. Determined to stock up on essentials, I hurriedly made my way to the store with flyers and coupons in hand, leaving my children at home with my husband. Usually accompanied by my 3-year-old daughter, Haley, on shopping trips, this time I relished the luxury of going alone. As expected, the store was sparsely populated at this late hour, with closing time approaching. I grabbed a shopping cart and began briskly traversing the aisles, collecting items from my shopping list and snagging discounts wherever possible. Engrossed in my task, I suddenly felt a tap on my shoulder, sending a jolt of fear through me. I turned to face a man of similar height, tanned complexion, wearing a baseball cap, a black coat, a red hoodie and jeans. He apologized for startling me, explaining that he had been searching for a specific bag of chips that happened to be in my cart. Politely, I directed him to the aisle where I found them. Grateful, he thanked me, his breath reeking, and struck up a conversation about his affinity for those chips. Eager to return to my shopping, I dropped hints, hoping he would understand. Yet, he persisted, discussing trivial details such as the ingredients or the lack thereof. Finally, he paused and exclaimed, "Gosh, you're pretty." I mustered a polite thank you before attempting to distance myself from him. Returning to my cart, I assumed he would let me shop in peace. However, much to my dismay, he followed me, maintaining the one-sided conversation. Feeling increasingly uncomfortable, I politely expressed my desire for solitude, hoping he would take the hint. Eventually, he seemed to comprehend and walked away. Nonetheless, throughout my time in the store, I repeatedly noticed him circling the aisles. Each time he passed the aisle I was in, he would slow down or even halt, fixing his gaze upon me. Growing anxious, I hastened to complete my shopping. Finally, when I approached the checkout, I noticed him with only 2 or 3 items, standing right behind me in line. Although he remained silent, I could sense his gaze penetrating the back of my head. As I finished checking out, pushing my cart away, he called out, "Have a good night, ma'am." Ignoring his words, I proceeded to unload my groceries into my car. While doing so, I glimpsed the man in the red hoodie still in the parking lot. His eyes fixated on me as he made his way to his dilapidated Honda, a relic from decades past. Oddly, he sat in the car without starting the engine. Finishing my task, I entered my car, started it, and began driving out of the parking lot. Glancing in my rearview mirror, I noticed no headlights behind me, which provided some semblance of safety as I embarked on my journey home. Upon arriving at my house and turning into the driveway, I cast a casual glance to my left, only to find the car driving slowly down the street, its headlights switched off. As it pulled up to the curb a few houses down, I realized it was the same Honda from the parking lot. A wave of unease washed over me as I stepped out of the car and hurriedly made my way inside the house. I immediately called out my husband's name, a sense of urgency in my voice. Concerned, my husband quickly descended the stairs, his eyes filled with worry. I recounted the unnerving encounter, informing him that I had been followed home by a creepy individual. Without hesitation, he rushed outside to the stoop, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious stalker. But by the time he reached the front of our house, the car had vanished into the night. Feeling a mixture of relief and lingering uneasiness, we decided to report the incident to the police. Given the late hour, we were surprised when a police officer arrived at our house in under 5 minutes. I provided the best description I could recall of the man in his beat-up Honda, hoping it would assist them in their investigation. Days turned into weeks, and the unsettling memory gradually faded into the background of our lives. However, the feeling of being watched lingered, leaving me on edge whenever I stepped foot outside. It was on a subsequent weekend, late at night when we were all safely tucked into bed, that the echoes of an unwelcome presence resurfaced. Shuffling noises emanated from outside, drawing my attention. I nudged my husband, urging him to investigate the source of the disturbance. With caution, he approached the window, sliding it open just enough to peer outside. To his shock, he spotted a figure below, attempting to open the side gates leading to our backyard. The intruder, caught off guard by the sound of the window sliding open, glanced up and immediately sprinted away. Armed with a baseball bat retrieved from under our bed, my husband wasted no time. He dashed out into the night, determined to confront the trespasser. But his efforts were in vain as the culprit hastily fled in the same battered Honda we had encountered before. Disappointed, my husband returned, confirming that it was undoubtedly the same individual who had followed me home. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, we promptly contacted the police once more, relaying the chilling events that had unfolded before our eyes. Despite our fears, we took solace in the fact that our vigilant actions had deterred the intruder from gaining access to our home. Still, the unsettling knowledge that this stranger knew our address continued to haunt me, casting a shadow over our daily lives. In the aftermath of the incident, we bolstered our home security, installing surveillance cameras and reinforcing our locks. We sought solace in the newfound peace of mind these measures brought, yet the memory of that encounter refused to fade entirely. It became a constant reminder of the dark underbelly that lurked within the tranquility of our small town. Months passed, and no further sightings or encounters troubled our family. We resumed our daily routines cautiously, maintaining a heightened sense of awareness. The scars left by that night would forever serve as a reminder of the vulnerability we all possess, even within the confines of our own sanctuary. Today, as I recount this tale, a chilling shiver still runs down my spine. We may have evaded danger that night, but the sense of security we once enjoyed remains forever shattered. It serves as a sobering reminder that darkness can permeate even the most idyllic settings, reminding us to stay vigilant and trust our instincts. And though time may have eased the immediate fear, the lingering unease will forever be etched in our hearts, a testament to the power of a single encounter that forever changed our perception of safety and security. The lingering unease that permeated our lives took its toll, subtly altering our once carefree existence. No longer did I venture out alone without a constant awareness of my surroundings. The grocery runs that were once mundane and uneventful now carried an air of caution. Each passerby, each unfamiliar face, triggered a momentary pang of anxiety within me. I became acutely aware of the safety of my children, who played innocently in the front yard or walked to school under the watchful eyes of concerned parents. Our once tight-knit community now felt foreign and unfamiliar, as if an invisible boundary had been erected, separating us from the sense of trust we had once known. The neighborhood had lost its charm, now shadowed by the haunting presence that had invaded our lives. Even the simplest activities became shrouded in apprehension. A trip to the park with the children was no longer a carefree adventure but a constant vigilance, scanning the surroundings for any signs of the man in the red hoodie. Each creaking floorboard in our house at night sent my heart racing, wondering if the intruder had returned, silently lurking within the darkness. The police investigation yielded no significant leads, leaving us with unanswered questions and a gnawing sense of vulnerability. The lack of closure only deepened the scars left behind by that harrowing night. We sought solace in the support of friends and neighbors, banding together in an unspoken pact to remain vigilant, to protect one another from the unknown. Over time, the intensity of our fear gradually subsided, replaced by a cautious resilience. We refused to let fear dictate our lives, determined to create a semblance of normalcy amidst the lingering unease. We embraced a new routine, one that involved additional security measures and a collective effort to stay informed and connected. As the months turned into years, the memory of that faceless intruder slowly faded, replaced by the ebb and flow of daily life. The incident became a footnote in our family's history, a cautionary tale passed down through generations, a reminder of the fragility of security and the strength of our collective resilience. Today, our town continues to flourish, the incident a distant memory for most. Life has returned to a semblance of normalcy, albeit with a heightened awareness of the potential dangers that lurk beneath the surface. We remain vigilant, forever mindful of the importance of community and the power of unity in the face of adversity. The man in the red hoodie may have vanished into the night, but his presence forever altered the tapestry of our lives. We emerged stronger, more resilient, cherishing the safety and comfort we once took for granted. And though the scars of that encounter may never fully heal, they serve as a constant reminder of the indomitable spirit that resides within us all, urging us to persevere and protect what we hold dear. Story 2. When I was in college, I found myself working at a 24-hour wall-bound store, where unlucky souls were assigned to the dreaded overnight shift. I thought my age and student status would exempt me from such shifts, but my boss saw my availability on Mondays and Wednesdays as an opportunity to exploit. I was scheduled for a Tuesday night, 12 AM to 8 AM, which shocked me. Reluctantly, I decided to tough it out this one time and inform my boss afterward that I couldn't do it again due to school commitments. Arriving at the store at midnight, I relieved my coworker Amanda. The dimly lit store, with half the lights off to save electricity, surprisingly had a fair number of customers. As the night wore on, the customer count dwindled. By 2 AM, the store was completely empty and boredom engulfed me. I wondered if there were other employees present. A bald man who resembled a manager kept passing by the front registers, clutching a key ring in a small backpack. Curiosity got the better of me, and I approached the man, asking if he was the manager. He came over and inquired if it was my first day, to which I replied that it was my first night shift. He didn't share his name but shook my hand before requesting that I organize the pallets in the back warehouse while he watched the front. As I headed to the back, I noticed him tampering with the entrance door, seemingly locking it. In the back warehouse, I encountered another man, tall and wearing a manager's vest, who introduced himself as Rob, the night manager. I mentioned the bald man from the front, assuming he was a night manager, but Rob seemed puzzled, asserting that he was the only manager on duty. Before we could investigate further, all the lights in the store abruptly turned off. Rob instructed me to wait in the warehouse while he investigated the situation. Alone in the darkness, I sat on the box, trying to text my awake friends about the eerie events unfolding. Suddenly, I heard a door open on the other side of the warehouse, beyond the freezer and dairy fridge. Alert, I listened intently as quiet footsteps approached, accompanied by a voice asking if I was there. To my surprise, it wasn't Rob's voice but that of the bald man. Swiftly, I slipped out of the warehouse, quietly jogging toward the front of the store, desperately searching for Rob. But he was nowhere to be found. Panicked, I grabbed my jacket and attempted to open the exit door, but it was locked. Footsteps approached from behind, causing me to turn around, only to realize it was Rob, the real manager. Rob swiftly unlocked the door, urging me to leave while he called the police. Overhearing his conversation, it became clear that an armed man had locked himself inside and was likely attempting to rob the store. I informed Rob that I believed the intruder intended to harm me in the warehouse, which he relayed to the operator. Concerned about liability, he advised me to wait in my car or leave. Sitting in my car, I anxiously observed the store. Within minutes, multiple police cars arrived and officers entered the premises. Unable to witness the unfolding events, I eventually decided to depart. However, I didn't quit my job. When I returned to work, my supervisor filled me in on the incident. Security footage revealed a suspicious bald man circling the store, cutting the lights, and heading straight for the warehouse. The most chilling revelation was that the intruder had directed me to the very place where he intended to carry out his plans. Fortunately, he left through the emergency exit in the warehouse long before the police arrived. To this day, the identity of the mysterious man remains unknown. After the incident, I vowed never to work another overnight shift. I had a conversation with my boss, explaining the traumatic experience and expressing my inability to continue with such shifts due to safety concerns. Thankfully, my boss understood and reassigned me to different shifts. I remained at the job for a few more months, but the memory of that night lingered, casting a shadow over my time at Wellbounds. Despite the unsettling encounter, life moved on. I focused on my studies and eventually graduated from college. With my degree in hand, I embarked on a new chapter, leaving behind the late-night shifts and the eerie incidents that occurred within the walls of that store. Over time, I couldn't help but wonder about the bald man who had intruded upon that fateful night. Was he ever caught? Did he carry out his intended robbery elsewhere? The questions haunted me, but the answers remained elusive. In the end, the experience taught me valuable lessons about personal safety and trusting my instincts. It reinforced the importance of being aware of one's surroundings and the potential dangers that can lurk in unexpected places. Although I moved on from that job, the impact of that night remained etched in my memory, serving as a constant reminder to prioritize my well-being and stay vigilant in unfamiliar situations. As for Wellbounds, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief when I heard news of the store closing down a couple of years later. It seemed like a fitting end to a place that had harbored such unsettling events. I hoped that whoever took over the location would bring about a fresh start, free from the shadows of its past. And so, the chapter of my life at Wellbounds came to a close. The memories of that night would always serve as a chilling reminder of the unexpected darkness that can exist within the most ordinary of places. But as I moved forward, I carried with me the strength and resilience gained from overcoming that ordeal, ready to face new challenges and embrace brighter horizons. Months turned into years, and the memory of that night began to fade gradually. Life moved forward, bringing new experiences and adventures. However, there were moments when I would catch myself in a state of introspection, reflecting on how that single night had left an indelible mark on my psyche. In the years that followed, I developed a keen interest in self-defense and personal safety. I attended workshops and took classes to equip myself with the knowledge and skills needed to protect myself and those around me. It became a mission to empower others with the same tools, sharing my story as a cautionary tale to raise awareness about the importance of personal security. Inspired by my journey, I decided to become an advocate for safety within communities. I joined local organizations that focused on educating people about self-defense techniques, organizing workshops, and providing resources for individuals to enhance their personal safety. It was a way for me to transform a harrowing experience into something positive, channeling my energy towards empowering others and helping them reclaim their sense of security. As I delved deeper into this advocacy work, I discovered a newfound passion for making a difference in the lives of others. I started collaborating with law enforcement agencies, sharing my insights and experiences to contribute to community safety initiatives. Together, we organized neighborhood watch programs, self-defense seminars, and awareness campaigns, striving to create an environment where everyone could feel secure and protected. In the midst of my efforts, news broke of a breakthrough in an unrelated criminal case. The local authorities had apprehended a notorious burglar known for targeting businesses in the area. His capture brought a sense of closure and relief to the community, offering hope that justice could prevail even in the face of uncertainty. Curiosity sparked within me, and I reached out to the investigating officers to inquire about the apprehended criminal. To my astonishment, it turned out that the man they had captured had a striking resemblance to the bald intruder from that haunting night at Wellbounds, although it couldn't be conclusively proven that he was the same person. The similarities were eerie enough to send shivers down my spine. The news of the arrest brought a mix of emotions. On one hand, there was a sense of relief that someone who posed a potential threat to others was no longer at large. On the other hand, questions resurfaced, stirring a whirlwind of emotions within me. Could it be that the man who had haunted my thoughts for years was finally facing the consequences of his actions? The truth remained uncertain, leaving room for both closure and lingering unease. As time went on, I continued my endeavors in promoting personal safety, never forgetting the lessons learned from that night. Through sharing my story, I aim to empower individuals to trust their instincts, take precautions, and seek resources that could aid in their protection. The path I had embarked upon, fueled by a desire to turn a moment of vulnerability into strength, became a personal mission that shaped my purpose and influenced the lives of those around me. Looking back, I realized that sometimes the most profound lessons arise from the darkest moments. That night at Wellbounds was a pivotal turning point in my life, driving me to advocate for safety, empower others, and foster resilient communities. And though the memory of the bald intruder may forever remain shrouded in mystery, the impact of that encounter propelled me to become an agent of change, ensuring that no one else would feel the same fear and vulnerability that I had experienced. As I continued my journey, I carried with me the knowledge that even in the face of darkness, there is always a flicker of light, a glimmer of hope. And through my unwavering commitment to safety and empowerment, I aim to illuminate that path for others, helping them find solace, strength, and a renewed sense of security in a world that can sometimes be terrifyingly unpredictable. Story 3. I used to work as a night restock worker at a supermarket in a somewhat rural town. The store was called Great American, known as the biggest and best supermarket in the area. My shift began as soon as the store closed at 10 p.m. and I would work until 3 a.m., ensuring that everything was restocked and organized before the next operating day. On this particular night, I was scheduled to work with Terry, my coworker. I arrived at the store, letting myself into the back where the inventory was kept. I started my work, using the pallet jack to bring out a whole pallet of boxes to the shopping floor. I began with the bread and nuts aisle, ensuring the older loaves were in the front and the newer ones were in the back. As I progressed through my tasks, I realized that I hadn't seen Terry yet. I walked to the back area of the store where we left our belongings, but he wasn't there. The back door was shut and I assumed Terry was somewhere in the store. Puzzled by the door stopper being outside, I called Terry. To my surprise, he informed me that he wasn't coming in that night because he was sick. A chill ran down my spine as I realized someone must have kicked the door stopper off the door. Nobody else was scheduled to work that night. Though skeptical that it could have come undone by itself, I did a quick check to make sure no one else was in the store. Finding no one, I continued working, albeit with a slight sense of unease. Suddenly, I heard a loud sound echoing from across the shopping floor. It was clear that someone else was in the store. I hurriedly made my way towards the middle aisle, where all the other aisles intersected. As I stood there, I saw a man dressed in black walking past the middle aisle, looking down in my direction. My heart sank and I felt a sense of dread. I tried to think logically, considering the possibility that this was someone else filling in for Terry's shift without my knowledge. I called out loudly, trying to get his attention, and looked down each aisle as I passed. He was waiting at the end of one aisle, facing me. When he saw me, he disappeared out of sight. I shouted again and began running towards him, hoping to confront him. When I reached the front of the aisle near the cash registers, I looked down the direction he went. There he was, at the end of the aisle by the bread section, partially hidden behind the shelf. His mouth hung open, and he started waving me over without uttering a word. His face filled me with unease. I mustered the courage to ask him who he was, but he disappeared behind the shelf without a trace. Feeling overwhelmed, I decided that I was not being paid enough for this ordeal. I rushed outside to my car and called my boss, informing him about the situation. He advised me to either remove the person from the store or call the police. Determined not to engage with a potentially dangerous individual, I dialed 911. I waited in my car until a police car arrived. I explained the situation to the officer and asked him to accompany me inside. Together, we carefully searched the store for the mysterious man. Eventually, we found him standing in one of the aisles, seemingly playing a disturbing game. The police officer commanded him to come forward, and surprisingly, he obeyed. The man was placed in handcuffs, and his behavior was incredibly strange. He wore a constant smile, staring at me with a disturbing intensity, repeatedly licking his lips. Deep bags hung under his eyes, suggesting a lack of sleep. The only words he spoke were in response to the police officer, stating that he was looking for a snack. His menacing and threatening smile sent shivers down my spine, leaving an indelible mark on my memory. After the unsettling encounter, I tried my best to regain my composure and focus on my work. Needless to say, I never left any of the aisles unattended, constantly aware of my surroundings. Every creak, every sound made me jump, as if expecting the man in black to reappear. As the night wore on, a sense of paranoia settled over me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that there were eyes lurking in the shadows. The empty store, typically a place of familiarity, now felt like a labyrinth of potential danger. To distract myself, I threw myself into my duties, meticulously restocking the shelves and arranging the products. Yet, with each passing moment, the atmosphere grew heavier. The fluorescent lights above seemed to flicker with an eerie rhythm, casting long, distorted shadows across the aisles. Then, from the corner of my eye, I caught glimpses of movement, a fleeting silhouette darting between the aisles, a whisper of footsteps echoing through the empty store. Panic surged through me, and I could no longer dismiss the notion that I was not alone. Summoning my courage, I approached the store's security office, where a bank of monitors displayed live footage from the surveillance cameras. As I scanned the screens, my heart skipped a beat. There, in grainy black and white, I saw him, the man in black, now prowling through the store with a haunting purpose. I quickly contacted the police once again, describing the intruder's presence and actions. They assured me that backup was on its way. In the meantime, I remained in the security office, eyes fixed on the monitors, tracking the man's every move. Minutes felt like hours as I watched him navigate the aisles, disappearing and reappearing with an uncanny ability to elude capture. It was as if he knew the store better than anyone, slipping through hidden passages and secret corners, always staying one step ahead. Finally, the sound of sirens pierced the night, signaling the arrival of additional officers. With a newfound sense of hope, I led them to the security office, pointing out the man's location on the monitors. Together, we devised a plan to corner and apprehend him, ensuring the safety of both ourselves and the store. With cautious steps and weapons drawn, we moved through the aisles, closing in on our elusive target. The air crackled with tension, and the darkness seemed to conspire against us. But we pressed on, determined to bring an end to this nightmarish ordeal. As we reached the last aisle, there he stood, cornered and outnumbered. His malevolent smile had transformed into a grimace of frustration. The officers swiftly moved in, disarming him and securing him in restraints. The nightmare was over, or so I hoped. The police escorted the man out of the store, his sinister gaze fixed on me until the very end. Even as he disappeared into the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that his presence would linger, haunting my dreams and leaving me forever changed. In the aftermath, the store underwent a thorough investigation, ensuring its security measures were enhanced to prevent such incidents in the future. But for me, the scars of that night ran deep. The fear and uncertainty I experienced lingered, casting a shadow over my once beloved job. Eventually, I made the difficult decision to leave my position as a night restock worker. The great American supermarket, once a place of bustling activity and familiarity, now held a sinister aura that I couldn't shake. To this day, I still find myself glancing over my shoulder, haunted by the memory of the man in black and the chilling smile that still sends shivers down my spine. The night shift at Great American will forever remain a chapter in my life that I can't forget, a reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places.